Okay guys, it is time to rodeo here in Vernon, Texas. We just got here for Slack. Slack is a little bit later. Still have a few hours before we run, so we're gonna nebulize Dakota and ice him. That way he has time, if there's anything in his sinuses, to cough it out after the nebulizer. And then after we ice, he'll get to go in his pen that we made to really stretch out and get ready before we warm up. I have to go check in and everything, but we're gonna get Dakota settled first. And he must have his braids, so we're gonna be doing a little braiding too. Alright, so the first thing we are going to do is get the nebulizer out, and I'm going to grab my little thing of distilled water to rinse out the medicine cup super quick. So I'm just going to put a little bit of distilled water in there, shut the lid, and shake it around for a minute before dumping it out. Once I dump out the distilled water, I'm going to pop the medicine cup where it goes in the nebulizer and grab my silver solution, fill it up to the line, make sure it is shut, and then we are going to go get this on Dakota. Neither of the horses really love the nebulizer. I'm not going to lie and say they do, but it does really help them. It helps them really clear their sinuses. After these long hauls, it helps hydrate their airways, and it will also help them clear anything out of their lungs if something happens to be hiding in there. So while that nebulizer is going, I'm going to pull off all of his fly boots, and I'm going to get my front ice vibes on his front feet. So I put the ice pack on the side it goes on, and then I put the ice vibe boot over the top. This is going to be a nice little ice massage. There's still a few hours before my run, so I would not ice his legs right before I would go to warm up, but I like to ice them before my runs, especially in the mornings, to decrease any inflammation. The nebulizer is done. It's probably his least favorite thing ever. Now we have to braid his mane. Okay, so Dakota just loves to mess his braids up. He'll roll all the time and try to get them out. So before we start rebraiding, I am going to get these little elastics out and then pull all of these braids out before I brush his mane. This takes me just a minute because he has so much hair. I'm going to spray him with some Cowboy Magic Detangler, let that sit for a second, and then I'm going to start brushing his hair, making sure there's no tangles and it's all smoothed out. And right before I'm going to start the braids, I pull out some quick braid and just kind of spray it along his scalp, and a bug was trying to kill me, not even really sure what it was, but once I have that quick braid sprayed in his hair, and once I kill the bug with the quick braid, I am going to brush that through his hair. I have pink hair ties, which is super cute on him. So the quick braid is going to help smooth his hair down so he doesn't have any flyaways, and it's also going to give me a little bit of grip on his hair while I'm braiding. I'm going to do some medium-sized braids for the day, and in the middle of me braiding, I stopped to put his Hawk Ice Vibe boots on. The front boots finished up, so I got the ice packs in the Hawk boots and put them on. This is going to do the same thing, but give the ice massage on his Hawks. So they carry a lot of inflammation in their hocks because they are using them so often and pushing off of them to turn. So I like to make sure I take good care of them. Now I'm going to go back to braiding. These braids are just a little bit bigger because I didn't have just an abundance of time to do them, and I kind of like the way the bigger braids look. So I am finishing up here. I always make the last braid way smaller than the rest of them because I am super bad at spacing them out, but they were looking really cute. We're gonna go check in at the office and make sure Barrels is actually last and I didn't get this wrong. So we'll go check out the arena and check in. There is a look at Dakota hanging out in his pen for a little bit before he ran, but after I checked in and checked out the arena, it was time to tack up. So I have my dress coat on now. I brushed him really good, and we are gonna get my saddle on. So I'm gonna run him in my Star saddle today. I'm making sure it is perfectly lined up just where I want it before I throw those cinches down and get them done. So I only do these loosely at the trailer. I'm letting him blow any of the air out of his stomach that he might be keeping in there and just chill with them a little bit looser. Once I have those cinches how I want, we are going to get my master breast collar on. This is going to help keep the saddle from sliding back if one day it decided it wanted to do that. But the breast collar also helps me keep my tie-down strap up and not dangling too low between his legs. Once he's tacked up, I'm leaving his fly boots on and spraying him with some fly spray. I am now going to pick his hoofs, make sure there is nothing in there that could be hurting him, like a rock or anything like that, and I just want them to be clean before I take him to warm up and then to run. So he had a lot of dirt caked up in here, but nothing too terrible. I pick it all out, and then right at the end I will use that brush on the hoof pick to get any remaining dirt or mud out of there. And this also lets me look in them, make sure nothing is looking bad, they're not getting thrushy, and there's no abscesses or anything like that. It's just good to take a peek at them every so often.
You saw me tack up, you saw me put his boots on, I think. Maybe I didn't video that, but you saw me tack up and do all the ice and everything. And we had to scratch at burning because it was horrible. I went to go watch the start. Thankfully, I had a later draw. So I went to go watch the first 5. They ran 3 and 2 fell completely down. They stopped it, tried to rework the dirt, but everyone kept falling and wiping out. And when I mean falling, they're all the way down. So I scratched for Dakota's safety. There was no point in running that. So I was a little sad because it's a nice big outdoor arena and it was a really cute place, but they just did not work the dirt to where it was safe and it was way too dangerous to run. I think the rain made it better for the perfs, but there was no reason to run slack and risk his legs. So I went right back to the trailer when I saw everyone falling down and I said no. And I unsaddled and we spent the night there. But today we're in Liberty Hill. We have a perf. I think the dirt will be good. So Dakota will be happy that he actually gets to run. He was pretty mad at me, I think, because he was like, what are you doing? You saddled me up. I stood here. It was hot. You put boots on me. You took boots off. You put them back on. You warmed me up and we did nothing. So I'm sure he was not happy with me. But hopefully he'll be happy today. He has a perf. He loves perfs. It's more of a jackpot kind of looking pin. So I think the ground's good. So we are ready to go.
The morning before our perf at Liberty Hill, I turned Dakota out in this round pen at the horse hotel we were staying at. He was able to really walk around and stretch and pick at the little bits of grass he could find, but most importantly, he was able to roll and get covered in dirt before I had to tack him up and make him perf ready. But I was happy to see him happy. He had stretched out really good and he was having a minute out kind of in the sun and enjoying the outside. And he had the perfect view to watch me ride Chester, which he loves to do. So he is getting a really good roll in there. That dirt was really nice and soft for him. But I am going to ride Chester this morning. I had already walked him quite a bit, but now I'm going to ask him to trot. I trotted him off with one hand just to see what he would do. I never want to choke up on him if he is wanting to be good, but I didn't like exactly how high he was holding his head up, so I went to 2 hands. My hands are still very soft, but I'm kind of telling him to put his head down just a little bit and not have it 40 feet in the air. And I'm going to trot him really big laps. We had a really nice huge arena to ride in, so I'm going to trot these huge laps, and I'm really just going to be keeping him in shape, even though for these few rodeos I am running Dakota. But Chester has one at the end of the video, so I'm just keeping him in shape, keeping him moving, and he looked so pretty. So I'm just gonna do kind of my normal workout. We're gonna trot both directions and then we're gonna lope both directions, and then he'll be done. After the second big lap around the arena, I asked him for a hard stop, and he did good, backed him up a little bit, and I did spray him off, don't worry. And then we headed to the performance at Liberty Hill, and I looked in to watch them work in the dirt, and they had a bunch of cute babies that were with the bucking stock with their moms. So I was watching them water the arena and just looking at all of the cute babies with their moms in the bucking stock, and all of the broncs were looking at me wondering what in the world I was doing and if I had food, but I sadly did not have anything to give them. They just stared at me, and they were all very comfortable, and eventually they all took a nap in the sun, and it was super cute. I was kind of killing time before I had to go saddle up Dakota.
They were standing on their mats earlier, I promise. They're spoiled.
Since they had to be tied on the hard parking lot, I put down my performance stall mats for them, and they did stand on them, I swear. I think they just know what I'm videoing and they want to pretend like they haven't been. Before I tack him up, we are going to pick his hoofs, and he had quite a bit of stuff in here, and it was really packed in, so I was glad that I picked them out, and I just decided to pick them out before I tacked up. I don't think I had a particular reason. I will pick them while he's saddled up, or I'll pick him while he's not. Doesn't really matter to me, but I'm gonna work on getting these hoofs cleaned. You can see there how packed in it is with just everything he's been stepping on, and had been super rainy, so there was a ton of mud that was caked up in his hoofs, so it was a little harder to get out than normal, but it wasn't just too bad. You can see that the parking lot is hard and gravel, so I really wanted them to have their mats available for them to stand on, so they weren't just standing on the hard ground for a few hours. There's a look at Chester, and now I'm going to get Dakota saddled up, so I'm going to use my hard brush and go all the way over his body, making sure I don't miss where the cinch goes or under his stomach, and I'm going to kind of brush where the breast collar goes to. I don't want anything to rub him and make him uncomfortable, so I'm going to really work on grooming him here, and we are going to actually run this time in the same tack. I promised him I was not pranking him this time. We were actually gonna go run, so I make sure my saddle pad's in the right spot, and then I throw my saddle on. My saddle is only like 15 pounds, so it's really easy to throw up there. There, I had to fix my collar, but it's really easy to throw on him without slamming it on his back because it is so light, and I think the horses really like that. So I'm gonna get that front cinch done, pull down my stirrup that I put up out of the way, and get that back cinch done. I never put my breast collar on before the cinches, just for some safety reasons.
I will do boots closer to when I know I'm going to run, which is probably in a little bit. But that way he does not have to stand in them. So he is good for now. I love that I forgot to clip that. Anyway, he has completely taken over both mats now because he's so selfless and loves Chester so much.
There is a look at that gorgeous sunset, and I'm going to be running him in my designer hot headstalls boots tonight. There is a good look at them, and here he is chilling right before his run. Once we warmed up, it was time to go, and this was our first run on a big pattern together. None of the patterns I had run so far in the year had been quite this big. He walked in really good for me. I was pretty nervous, and then once he walked in enough, I let him go. You can tell he was really raring to go. Here I sat just a little bit too soon, and it caused him to step off just a little bit. Here at the second, I really put my hand down, but when I picked him up, he shook his head at me. So this was a little bit of a rough run, but he hung on to win some money. He ran a 17, 2 or 3, I believe, which was a really nice time. And after the run, we were sitting really good at 3rd. And then after slack, we got pushed to 12th. From there, we are going to go to Killeen, Texas for another big performance. This perf was a lot bigger than Liberty Hill. We had the horses chilling in their electric pens so they could graze. We would throw them alfalfa, and they just got to walk around and stretch out. And here is our run At Colleen, here he really made me think that he was gonna duck in front of the first barrel. You can tell I'm like, whoa. But he made a really nice first barrel. We made a nice second barrel. And we kind of went past the third, but not too terribly bad. And we placed fourth at Colleen. It was a huge rodeo against a bunch of NFR qualifiers, and we ran a 17-2. So I was super proud of this run. I gave Dakota all the pets and all the treats. Then we headed off to Mount Pleasant, Texas for Chester to run in the slack there. So I got the nebulizer on him, helping clear his sinuses. He can sometimes have bad allergies too, so it really helps him with that. While that nebulizer is going, I'm going to brush him really good, making sure I really prep the area for his saddle, that way nothing rubs on him. I'm going to run him in that same white saddle pad that I run Dakota in, but instead of my black saddle, we are going to be running in my plain brown master saddle. I still think it's super pretty and looks good on any horse I've ever put it on, but it's definitely a lot plainer than the stars. I'm going to get those cinches down, make sure they are the correct length, get them done loosely, and I was just really petting on him. There I noticed that the nebulizer was done, so I got it off. He would definitely kill me if I left it on there. It is not his favorite thing, but he was really good about it that day. I get my breast collar on, and I actually clip it that time. Look at that. Now I'm going to get all of his fly boots off so I can put on his running boots. And before I put on the running boots, though, we are going to pick his feet. They're pretty packed in, too, just like Dakota's were, because it had been super rainy. They had been in the mud, so it was really all up in there. Chester's had a little bit more time to dry out before I picked them out, so that made it a little bit easier, and I just really like for them to run on clean feet. I want to make sure they can feel everything with the soles of their feet as well, so just making sure there's no rocks and he hasn't managed to get a nail in there or something crazy, because they do that sometimes. He is going to be running in my teal Hothead Stalls boots, so I'm going to get the front boots on first and make sure they are in just the right spot. Before I put boots on, I either brush with a hard brush or with my hand to make sure there is no dirt caked up on his leg. When things like that are left under these tight sports boots, it can push their tendon the wrong way and lead to some injuries. So I really like to make sure their legs are clean before I put the boots on, and then I'm going to finish him off with some bell boots. I have been wearing my tennis shoes around just because they're more comfortable than my boots, but now that I'm going to get on, I'm going to grab my boots out of my little cute boot bag and get my boots on so I can go warm Chester up. I'm going to grab my over and under and get that on my saddle, and then I'm going to put on my black helmet for this run today and grab Chester's bit and hop on. So I'm going to walk him around a lot. We only had this area of grass to warm up, but it was a lot of space, so that was super nice. He's walking around, looking at everything, looking at all the trailers that are pulling in. There I stopped him for a minute in the shade, and then I went to go trot to make sure that he was perfectly warm for our run. I always sit the trot on him and ask him to be really, really calm and collected before his run, just because he has quite a bit of anxiety, and I need to make sure he is in a good headspace before we go to our run. Even when he does have a bad warm-up, though, the second you turn him to the barrels, he knows his job. He really takes care of me. But for now, we're going to trot around. There, I'm going to not stop to change directions. I'm just going to trot him in a small circle to change directions. There were plenty of hills. It was not even and flat, so that helps him warm up even more because he has to work just a little bit harder to get up and down those hills. They weren't super huge grades, but they were there. So I'm just going to trot him for a while. I kind of do some figure eights on him, trying to get him to bend and flex his head around the turns like I did right there, even though there is no barrel in sight. And I just keep going with this really, really calm sitting trot. He is doing really, really good here. After I trot, I'm going to walk him for a little bit before I lope him both ways, and I tried to kind of keep him on the flatter part for the lope so he wasn't having to navigate up and down a big hill while he was loping. I don't want him to face plant on me because sometimes he gets really focused on what he's doing and does not pay attention to his feet. He just wants to go, go, go. So in the lope, I am going to keep him collected. He's going just a little bit faster than he was in that trot, but I keep his head down there too, and it was time for our run, and we barely got that first barrel, and it makes me so sad because he had a phenomenal second barrel and a super good third barrel and would have placed if I had pushed him just one step past the first barrel, so that stung a little bit, but he clocked really good. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you soon. Bye!